Vale, creo que me están diciendo que no se estaba escuchando
People
nada,
were telling me
perdonadme.
that you couldn't hear me. Sorry.
Cosas de... Comienzo de nuevo. Bienvenidos a todos.
Sorry. Welcome all.
Bienvenidos a todos y muchas
Welcome all. Thank you very much for joining us in the Meeting Point session. You come from more than 10 countries, everis, and before I start again, there is a QR code that you can log in.
So you can follow the English
so you can
also with this QR code. Okay. So today
we're going to talk about social startups. And we call this "Your ideas are the beginning of change" because the majority of projects come from an idea or a need from our surroundings. And the problem is that a lot of times we don't know how to crystallize that idea with a social impact so as to improve people's lives. So today's session is focused on transforming those ideas we do have in social impact projects, and we have divided that in two parts. The first 30 minutes we're going to have someone with us. She's Arancha Martínez, and she was a finalist of Everest Awards in Spain, and today she is an NGO president called ENGLISGH, and she is an expert in social startups, and you can ask her all the questions you want, and then we're going to have participants from previous sessions and previous versions of every social awards. And you can, before you heard that as intraemprendimiento social, and they're going to tell us what it was like to win the project, win the awards and their projects. Today we're going to give words to Arancha. Hi, how are you? We had rehearsed this and we had sound problems anyways. You have about 20 minutes. Go ahead, and thank you for being with us today at the Meeting Point. Thank you all. And thank you everyone who's there. I'm going to show you a very atypical presentation. I'm going to try not to talk about social startups with my 13 years of work. I'm just going to tell you about my lessons learned, and you can see if you're interested. So I'm going to share my screen. Let's start with the first thing for me, and this is common to everyone, and it shows that everyone can be a social entrepreneur, and it is Spain as a change engine to start up to change the world, which is social entrepreneurship. It happens because in any given point you feel pain, you feel frustrated, something that you don't like that moves you doing something that you will have, something that will change things. I was a volunteer in India. I could have been anywhere else. I just wanted to be a cooperative volunteer, something that could allow me to do that. And my idea was going back to the bank I worked with. And I went to India, and that was something that was very painful for me. There was millions of children in the streets. So I started with working with 10 children, and every afternoon when I went back home after working with them, I would find twice as many children that were abandoned. So I felt, what kind of impact is this? There are millions of children going through this, and I felt frustrated. I felt impotent. And throughout the months as a volunteer, and getting to know and enduring and suffering with the children that I worked with, I realized that I couldn't go back to the bank. I found my purpose in life, and that would be the second thing as a social entrepreneur, to find what your purpose in life is, and through pain, that feeling that move you to create ideas, to create change, with that kind of injustice that you have pinpointed, and that makes you find your calling. And you say, how can I go back to work at a bank? How am I going to turn my back to this problem that I've not only seen but lived myself through being a volunteer with these children? And I would highlight that that purpose, besides giving a motive to my life and taking me to another place, you have to go back as an entrepreneur. You shouldn't get you lost in it, because with other lessons learned, sometimes it is difficult, it is lonely, it's complex, it is difficult to convince other people to help you, and those are very, very big goals, and you can't do it by yourselves. So we always have to go back to that origin and to that reason for entrepreneurship. And when I see that I'm getting lost and I lose my course, I go back to India and I find my purpose again. Once you find your purpose, then you have the most beautiful aspect, is to create dream. I worked at the bank, and in the 5 years that I lived in India, what I found, and I decided to stay, and I put my talent at their disposal, not only for children in the streets that was frustrating for me, but to help to finish with that poverty situation, with that injustice situation. And I stayed there for 5 years, and suddenly I saw that I came from a place where we have technology tools that are the best ones to get to know our customer and not to lose money during the transactions, and we had the best software possible to work with them in the sector that I was working at. And suddenly I found the sector with the biggest social challenges and great difficulties to solve great problems like hunger, child trafficking, and we found the right tools. We didn't have enough resources. We had pen and paper. And once those 5 years went through learning and going through things, that was like a master degree for me. I found that not only a purpose and mission, that I want to contribute ending poverty. I don't want children in the streets, but I also found how to do it. Why don't I, with all these problems and these wonderful people I find that are doing so many things to change the world, why don't I give them the right tools, uh, the 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 tools that will help them change the world? And throughout the next couple of years, I've worked with technological innovation through humanitarian aid, and this is a dream. It took a long time, and work with many allies, but we got a tool to identify through people who can't find their identity, with children that can't find their identity. So that way I help NGOs and governments to interoperate and share data in a trustworthy way and create more impact in protecting children. And that is the project that I was a finalist with. And in creating, as I said, you enjoy it very much, innovation, and you enjoy it and you suffer, of course, because you have to find resources, access to finances, which is very complicated in the social aspects, because you have to make people fall in love with your idea. Donors, people from organizations, nobody will give anything away. I'm telling you that beforehand, and especially when you innovate and you don't know how things are going to work out. So that is a complex stage, but what's beautiful when you find this type of complex, when things are crystallized, and they don't only work, but they show that you can change things in socially speaking. You can really find more effective ways of protecting children who are in the streets. With this, something, everything is positive and negative, and to me, being able to to enjoy every moment through your path of social entrepreneurship. And with this project, we were lucky enough to be acknowledged uh, with Red Cross Humanitarian Technology Awards. And when we started with the project, we always thought to own the project, and you have to enjoy yourself, but also embrace failure, because it is true that we talk on social media and we celebrate successes, but in reality, per success, you have 10 failures. So, on that note, what's important of embracing failure is to understand uh, success is very short, but it is better when you are resilient, when you are strong and even wiser. So, on that note, I would say that a social entrepreneur's path is a path. Our projects are not tangible. We don't say we're going to solve this problem. Those are challenges that are so big, so important, that we will never be able to solve as social entrepreneurs. We can't do it by ourselves. And this is a path you start. You know that maybe in your lifetime you won't be able to solve, but you will contribute to improve the world and survive humbly with your day to day, and make an effort and work knowing that we're going to be a lot of no's, but many of the things that we do won't be successful, but we will contribute to have a better world, and that's the most important thing as social entrepreneurs. And as I said, defeats make you more resilient, and the values that we talk about when we talk about social entrepreneurs, about effort, perseverance, passion, in the end you internalize that and you observe that in the most complex of moments. There is a picture here when we have an alert, an alarm. Say we had a last picture in this was on 2020 awards in Vienna, and all of a sudden COVID explodes, and government sends children to shelters and the places where we work. Uh, that was those were places that became places to shelter children. And one of the projects that we worked on, all of a sudden everything changed. And in those crisis times of adversity, we not only change our values, but another thing that I would highlight and the lessons learned is that you have to embrace change, because change means opportunity and hope. And maybe sometimes you say, I'm going to throw the towel. How am I going to keep my project ongoing? How am I going to get ahead? And again, if we're talking about a project, but we had many others at the NGO also worked, and COVID just disrupted everything, and all our projects are not as important, or we're not an entrepreneur, but now we are working with the NGO, and we are cooperation is not a focus anymore because there are problems in Spain. And here is that when social entrepreneurs, we have to step up to the plate and innovate and embrace change and see what we can do at that type of times to survive, and not only surviving for surviving itself, but our projects will get hit, but we can't allow our projects to end. They are very, very important. They have a very, very big purpose, and we have to overcome this and continue with them. In our case, before the crisis, we were working uh, with a different project with not with biometrics, as I told you before, on protection projects, but had a pilot with the UN Innovation in Malaysia about blockchain technology. with social projects, traceability of money to improve our donors' experience, but also traceability of social impact to have a better management and an impact of projects. And when the crisis hit, I'm sorry, we put this technology at society's service so that we could contribute, so other NGOs could take advantage of what we were developing to increase their donations in a time where NGOs needed financing more than ever. And it also allowed us as an organizations to get a new project ahead that was uh, that had a very important social value, allowing us to keep our income, ongoing projects, and somehow allowing us to get ahead in that kind of trying moments. And that in that kind of moments, that's when you realize that the biggest crises become opportunities, not only to innovate and get ahead, but also create new projects for society and to improve society. And in the end, is our the goal of any entrepreneur. What's important, as I said, it is a path, it's not the end. And it's a way how we think about investment. Our time, I'm going to start up, I'm going to, of course, invest resources. And a lot of times, the entrepreneur has to use their own savings and our time and not going through other ways a lot of times. But what's important to me is to see that as a means and not as an end. A lot of times, investment funds, they don't see our projects as a way to earn money and to solve something very quickly. We have to see that as a means, because what social entrepreneurs do, we try to improve society. And that, of course, we can do that from one day to the next. And that helps us take that first step. And there is a poem here that I recommend from David White, and it has to do with our motto that I said at the beginning. Your ideas are the beginning of change. Um, and the first thing is take that first step. The second one will come, and the third one, which is the most difficult one, and a lot of times we don't want to take that first step, but that is very important to create change and to deviate from that path we had, and that's what is expected of us. And apparently life puts ahead of you, and you have to be brave enough to follow your instincts and overcome frustration and pain, listen to your heart, and find that purpose. That once you find the experience, find the greatest battles and failures, defeat. But once you have your calling and your goal and what you feel and what your heart tells you, it in the end you will be happier. So this is my last slide. But if you want to take a look at the projects that I have started throughout the years, but the most important thing is the 10 minutes of Q&A, so if to see if I can motivate you and help you through my very humble possibilities for you to take that first step.
A ver, que estaba otra vez en mute de nuevo. Muchísimas gracias, Arancha. Ha sido, la verdad, muy inspirador
Thank you, Arancha. It's been inspiring as people type on the chat in YouTube. Thank you very much. It really makes you want to start up and help society. Everyone who's watching, if you want, you can type your questions on the chat box and we'll answer them one by one. And you can tell us where you are writing from, and where you are
Perfecto.
logging in from,
Entonces,
because we have many countries around the
bueno, si
world.
quieres, vamos a ir comenzando
If you want, let's
con una de
start
las primeras preguntas que nos están poniendo en el
with
chat,
one
que
of the
es
first questions that
cómo
we
poder
have on the
avanzar,
chat box.
cómo avanzar en rodearte
How
de
can we get
expertos para sacar
ahead,
adelante el
and how
proyecto.
can you surround yourself with experts to
Pues
get
sí,
your
eso es
project
uno de
ahead?
los puntos clave para,
That
pues
is
como
one of
decía,
the
¿no? En
key
experiencias
points.
emprendiendo social,
As I
que hay,
said, in
básicamente
social
hay diferentes niveles,
entrepreneurship
¿no? Porque
projects,
claro,
there are
tú puedes
different
tener un
levels.
propósito demasiado grande seguramente
You
y
know,
que no
my
consigas
goal is very
conseguir
big,
acabar con la pobreza.
and my purpose is
Y
very
ahí
big,
es
is to
fundamental
contribute to
entender
end
desde
with
los inicios
poverty. And what is
que
key
nunca
to
nos vamos a
understand from the
conseguir, ¿no?
beginning
Los
is that we
emprendedores
are
ni
never going
siquiera
to
tu
achieve
propia
that, not by
organización, ¿no?
ourselves, not
Ahí es
entrepreneurship,
clave
not the organization. To me, what
ver
is
que
key
incluso sin ser una ONG, porque la gran mayoría de
is to
emprendedores
see
sociales
that I'm
tienen
not an NGO,
sus modelos de negocio y la
their
financiación, ¿no?
business
La rentabilidad también es
models and
importante.
financing,
Pero yo ahí sí que
it's important
sugiero
also.
siempre el tratar
But what I
de
do
poner por
suggest
delante el
is to
impacto,
try
porque si no
and
va a ser
and
difícil
put social impact ahead of
conseguir
you.
tu éxito
Otherwise,
social, ¿no? de la
to
empresa. Y
get to
ahí
your
una vez que
social
pones por delante ese
purpose will be
propósito,
difficult on your
creo que
company.
derribas muchos
And
mitos,
once you
¿no?
have that
De
purpose
competencia, de
before
miedo a
you,
que te copien. Y lo digo
you
porque
block away,
si después
you
un día
turn down a lot of
no
walls.
utiliza People's
If
Protection App,
UNICEF one day doesn't
quieres ir
use
a
a
People's Protection
People's
App a
Protection app,
realizar
but they
un
want
proyecto
People's
similar para
Protection
proteger a
app
niños, pues
to
hombre, no es
conduct
lo
a
ideal,
similar
pero si
project to
eres
protect
ilustradora
children.
que
It's not the
estáis de
ideal
la mano,
thing.
¿no?
It is
De
more
UNICEF,
difficult
pero
to
si eso
go
sucede,
hand in hand with
tú
UNICEF.
puedes, si tus
But if
valores
that
son emprendedores
happens,
importantes,
it
puedes
is a very
tratar de con
big
eso
success
ese
for me,
impacto
and
indirecto,
try
lo que llamamos los emprendedores
to
sociales,
have
como
indirect
impulsamos, empujamos
impact
a que otras empresas o a que otras
companies, and
personas
that
también
social
pues sigan
entrepreneurs
ese camino,
drive
porque
and
al final
push
de eso
for,
va, ¿no?
so
De
that other
conseguir
people
el
will follow
impacto.
our purpose,
Y ahí pues rodearse
and
de
we get to
mentores y
social
sobre todo
impact,
de
and
empresas que quieran
surrounding
ser
yourself
aliados
with the
es
best
fundamental, ¿no? Perder
companies
ese
to
miedo
look
a que me
for
van a copiar y
allies
pero te
is
lo voy a
key.
contar porque seguramente si
Don't
quieres
be afraid of
también
being
tú
copied. I'm
y tu
gonna
empresa
tell you
estáis
about my
buscando
project,
ese
because maybe if you're
propósito, ¿no? Compartir
looking for the
conocimiento,
same thing and
pues
your
iremos
company
más
is looking
rápido.
for
Y
that
es lo que se
drive,
dice, ¿no? Que si quieres
we'll do it faster.
bueno, pues puedes hacerlo solo,
And
pero si quieres llegar más
if you
lejos
want to
tienes
do it by
que ayudar a
yourself,
otros.
you can do it. But if you want to get ahead, you
Y
really
muchas
need
gracias,
to surround
Arancha, por
yourself
todas
with
las
people.
preguntas
Thank you.
relacionado con lo que nos estás contando, como
Another
ahora mismo
question
nos hablas
related to
de
what
esas
you're telling us
instituciones que
is,
ofrezcan
do
asesoramiento
you know
gratuito
of
para
any
emprender.
institution that will give you
Pues
free
gratuito, a
counseling
ver, yo
to
creo que
start
ahora
up?
mismo hay muchísimos
Free.
programas de
There
emprendimiento
are
social
many programs
y,
of
a
social
ver, gratuito,
entrepreneurship
son becas, quiero decir, hay que pasar
that is
obviamente por un
free.
proceso de
Those are
selección, pero
scholarships.
una vez
You have to go through selection
que pasas,
processes, but
todo lo que viene
once
después es
you go
gratuito.
through
Y
that,
pues bueno, pues
everything
teniendo
else
los
is
premios
free.
everis,
Uh,
es que todos estos
everis
reconocimientos, eso solo
awards,
ese
for
acceso,
examples,
cuando
all
tienes
these
una idea, la
awards,
mandas
all
para
those
cualquier
processes, when you have an idea
promotor
and you
de
send
premios de
it
emprendimiento, programas de
to
emprendimiento,
any
esos procesos son
entrepreneurship
gratuitos
awards,
también.
some
Además los
entrepreneurship
pasos de
programs, those
ganar,
are
de
lesson
pasar
learned to
a
take those
semifinales,
steps of winning.
normalmente todos estos
We're going to the
programas
semifinals.
suelen venir
All
acompañados
these
de
programs come
mentoring, de
together with
coaching. Yo desde luego,
mentoring,
estos
coaching.
años he
Of
pasado por
course,
varios programas
all
de
these years I've gone
becas
through many entrepreneurship
bueno, pues
programs
hay que poner mucho
and
tiempo,
their
¿no? Mucho esfuerzo
processes,
por
and you have to
por
invest a lot of
sacrificio,
time and effort
pero sí que
from
puede
our
ser gratuito,
team,
¿verdad?
but all of them
Perfecto.
have been free.
Muchas
Great.
gracias. Mira, tenemos varias
Thank
preguntas
you.
y nos dicen,
We have
¿cómo se toma la
many
decisión
other
hacia
questions.
preparar tu vida para
How do
emprender
you
socialmente y si es posible
stop your life
compaginarlo
to
con tu día a día?
socially start up, and how
Pues,
could you
a ver,
paginate that with
lo
your
mío fue
day-to-day life?
bastante drástico porque
In my
sí
case,
que
was
me fui a
drastic
India
because
variado de
I
6
went to
meses y me
India
quedé.
for
Es
six
verdad
months and
que
I
llevaba
stayed.
3 años trabajando,
It is
había
true that for
ahorrado cuando
3 years
comencé
I
al
was
principio,
working and I had saved up and
estando
I
en
could allow
casa
myself
sin cobrar, que eso es que no todo el mundo lo
to
puede decir
to
y yo
have
entiendo que
some
la gran
time
mayoría
without
de
any
los
income.
emprendedores, ¿no?
And the
con los
majority of
que nos relacionamos,
my
pues
friends who
es verdad
start
que la
up and the people
mendiga
whom I
compaginan
met,
durante un tiempo, ¿no? Su
they do
trabajo como
paginate
persona con
their
sus ideas, su
work
emprendimiento y
with
bueno,
their
como
ideas or
independencias, ¿no? Para
startups,
poderlo sacar adelante.
uh,
Y bueno, pues yo
so that
dejé,
they can
no
get
hay un
things
modelo único y
ahead.
creo que ahí sí que a veces
There is not a unique model And if you're lucky enough, of course, I'm the first one. I'm very lucky because I've been able to do whatever I wanted to do. First of all, I was born in Spain, which is very lucky, and to have them the resources and my family to be able to do that, because it doesn't always happen. But on the one hand, I would say take that first step, which is the most difficult thing. The most difficult thing is to jump in with your possibilities. If you are within your company, that we have entrepreneurship, a lot of times in your company, if you have an idea and you can defend your idea and you find your calling and you fight, you don't have to look for allies outside of your company. Models are infinite. The most difficult thing, and a lot of times we think, can I allow myself to do this? Can I afford to do it? You need to take that first step and start working, and nobody's going to get paid for that. So if you start working on what you like, and within your company, nobody is going to say to give for free. So you have to get in love and make people fall in love with your passion and find those allies whenever you need,
Mira,
inside and
sobre lo
out.
que estás diciendo, hay una pregunta que nos están
While
haciendo
you're
desde,
saying, there is a
un voluntariado
question
y, y te lo voy a
from
dar respondido,
Everest,
pero bueno, si quieres añadir
and
algo
this,
más,
I think you answered
¿cuánto
that already, but
importa
if you
la
wanted to add
pasión en ese
something,
primer paso?
how important is passion when taking that first step? Everything. And of course, that's what I said at the beginning of the presentation. I said it was atypical because I started talking about pain. I think that from your feelings, that's where you can create social transformation. See, but if you don't believe in it, if it is just an idea that you came up with, that won't work. You have to endure that. And startups are born from, when you least expect it, when your child is sick, or somebody, when somebody dies, or a trip changes your life. I don't know. You have to feel something. You have to feel pain that is deep, that will make you move and say, this is so unfair, it is terrible, and I have to change this. And from there, from that kind of feeling, passion goes together with you, and that is the way of persevere. And when you think you're gonna throw the towel, which happens a lot when you start up, and especially if it is a social startup, you don't throw your towel. And that is the way of
Sí,
getting
como
ahead.
decíamos al principio, que muchas veces estas
Especially
redes
as we said
sociales
at the
son una
beginning, a lot of
necesidad, ¿no? Que
times
se ven de
social
entorno y muchas
entrepreneurship
veces son
comes
casos
from
personales
needs.
los
You go to
cuales
the
hacemos
surroundings,
que,
and a lot of times it's personal
sea vuestra
cases
propuesta.
that make us
Arancha, nos
develop
queda un
our
minutito. Yo te
idea
quería
or
hacer
proposal. We
una
have one
pregunta,
minute left, Arancha,
porque
and I
nos
wanted
están
to
viendo
ask you
muchas
something,
personas que son de
because
Everest,
a lot of people are
que quizá
watching
tengan un
us from
proyecto en
Everest,
mente, tengan una idea,
and a lot of
y
time,
aunque
maybe they
nos
have
has
an
dado
idea, they have a
muchas ideas
project
y
in
muchos
mind,
consejos,
and you
quería
gave
pedirte que
us
me
a lot
dijeses las tres
of
cosas por
tips
las que nos
and
deberíamos
idea. Tell us
preparar
about the
hoy
three things
para ser
that
emprendedor
we
social.
should take to be a social entrepreneur. It is difficult to summarize that in three ideas, but to me, maybe the first one is what we're talking about. Passion, and having that determination, living your idea with passion so that you can make people fall in love with it. Then perseverance. In my experience, when you hear a lot of no's, okay, you have to understand that even when you are told no, you can get ahead and try to. The first thing you hear no, and they tell you your idea is not good enough, for just continue. If you believe in it and you see it, clearly, you have to fight for it. You can let yourself get defeated. And number three, as I finish my presentation, take that first step. You have to be brave, encourage yourself, and you can always go back in life. But I think that you regret what you haven't done in life. what you did wrong. Okay, you did it wrong and you learn from it, but we always have to learn and take that with you, and to take it someplace else. But if you don't do things because you didn't dare do something, that will be a thorn in your heart. So take that first step and present your
Pues
ideas
muchísimas
and
gracias. La
fight
verdad
for
que se
them.
nos ha acabado el tiempo
Thank
y
you
hemos
very
tenido
much. We ran out
una
of
montón
times.
de dudas.
We have a
Arancha,
couple more
mil
questions, but
gracias
we won't have
por
time.
participar
Arancha, thank
en
you so
este
very
Meeting
much for
Point
taking
de hoy y
part
sobre todo
in
por
the meeting
contarnos tu
point of today, and
experiencia, por
especially
darnos
for telling
ideas,
us about your
consejos
experience, your ideas,
para
your
hacer ese
uh,
emprendimiento
you
social y para ir
tell us
construyendo
about how to
también
do social
nuestra sociedad
entrepreneurship
y el
and get
entorno que nos
ahead
está cercano.
in
Muchísimas gracias,
society
Arancha. Nos
and
vemos
our
pronto.
surroundings. Thank you so much, Arancha. We'll see you very
Hasta luego.
soon.
Gracias por
Big
participar. Hasta
hug.
luego.
Bye bye.
Hasta luego.
Thank you.
Bueno, pues
Bye bye.
ahora iríamos con la segunda parte
Now
de esta
we are
sesión
going
de
to
hoy.
go with our
Como os
second part of
comentábamos
our
al
session
inicio,
today, and
antes de
as
dar
I said at
paso
the
y
beginning,
comenzar con el
and
coloquio y
before
dar bienvenida a la
we
mayoría a los
start with our
participantes que tenemos
conversation
hoy, os
and
quería
welcome
hablar
our
muy
participants
brevemente,
today,
muy, muy
I wanted to tell you
brevemente,
very,
de los
very
premios de
briefly
Your Social Awards,
about
que como sabéis
your social
anteriormente quizá los
awards.
conocíais como
And as
premios
you
al
said,
intraemprendimiento
as you
social.
heard before,
Y para quien
it
no lo
used to
sepa,
call
estos
Premios al
premios
Emprendimiento
lo que
Social.
hacen por
And for you to
definición
know,
Everis es
what
reconocer
we
a
do
profesionales de
as Everest
Everis y de
Foundation
Big
is
Data
acknowledge
que liberan
Everest
proyectos tecnológicos
professionals
e innovadores
and
con
data
claridad
professionals that
empresarial
develop
y que generen un
technological
impacto
projects with
transformador
social
en
components
los
and
entornos
generating
donde se
transformation
desarrollan.
in the surroundings where
También, pues si
they do
tenéis
work.
curiosidad, es un premio,
Also, if you
perdón,
are curious
bueno, pues
about
son unos premios, ¿no? ¿Cuál es ese premio? ¿Cuál es ese
if there are
reconocimiento?
words,
Pues el
what
premio
is
es
that?
un
What is
viaje
the word itself? So
o a
it is
España
a
con
trip
las
to
entradas
Japan
para visitar las
or
oficinas centrales de
Spain
NTT Data en
to
Tokio
visit
y Everis en
our
Madrid y un programa de
Tokyo
aceleración
offices,
por
or
parte
in
de
Madrid
Ideas, que
an
es una empresa
acceleration
del
program
grupo Everis
by Ideas, which is
especializada
an
en
Everest
emprendimiento
Foundation,
tecnológico.
Ideals, which is
Como
an
sabéis,
Everest
estamos haciendo
Foundation
esta sesión
company
hoy
for
para
entrepreneurship, and
resolver
we are
las dudas
conducting the
que
session
tengáis
today to
y hoy
solve and
vamos
to
a
answer
contar
your
con
questions.
tres
And that's why we're going to
participantes
count on
anteriores de los
three
premios, que
participants
son Asier,
that
Rodrigo
took
y
part in the
Miralles,
Everest Award. Asier,
Caroli
Asier is
y
on screen.
Leslie.
We have Caroli
Bienvenidos a
and
todos,
Leslie.
muchísimas gracias
Welcome
por
all.
participar
Thank you very
en este
much
Meeting Point
for
y
taking part
en esta
in
sesión.
our the meeting point
Como
and
decía,
our
vosotros habéis
session today.
participado en ediciones
And as we
anteriores
said
y
before,
queremos
you have
saber cuál
taken
ha
part
sido
in previous
vuestra
editions,
experiencia,
and we
sobre
want to
todo
know
para
what your
resolver
experience has
dudas
been
de
like,
todos los asistentes
especially
que hemos
to
estado
answer
viendo hoy.
questions from
Y
our
bueno,
attendance today.
vamos a comenzar para que no se nos
And
vaya mucho el tiempo.
let's start so that we
Asier,
don't waste
vamos a
time.
comenzar contigo. Tú eres
Asier,
más
let's start
veterano
with you.
porque
You
ganaste
are the
el
veteran
premio al
here because you
intraemprendimiento social
won
en su
the
segunda edición.
Intraemprendimiento Social Award in their second
También tu
edition,
proyecto se llama Berry Roberry.
and your
Entonces,
project is
te
called
queríamos
Berry
preguntar,
Lover,
cuéntanos en una
Berry
frase en qué consiste
Berry
tu
Robin. So
proyecto
tell us
y
in
en qué estado
one
estaba
sentence what your project is about,
cuando te
and what
presentaste,
was the stage of your
cuando
project
presentaste con este
when
proyecto
you
al
um,
concurso. Si quieres
came
también cuéntanos de qué oficina
to
eres
to
o
the
si te
words,
podemos
and tell
ofrecer
us
más
where
información.
the office that you work on is.
Se te escucha.
Can you hear me?
Primero, gracias
Yes.
a Tamara y a la Fundación y a todos
Thank
los
you to
profesionales
Tamara and Everest
bueno, pues
Foundation and everyone who's listening
vengo de
to
la
us.
oficina de Bilbao.
I am Asier and I come from
Bueno, un
Bilbao's office.
poco el objetivo de nuestra plataforma es,
Our goal in
por
our
una parte,
platform
fomentar y por
is
otra, facilitar
to
la donación
foster
de objetos de
and
asistencia, ¿vale? Como
facilitates
pueden ser sillas de
donation
ruedas,
of
máquinas, etcétera,
assistant objects like
todo con el objetivo de
wheelchairs,
que acaben
canes, etc., so
dedicándose a ser
that
almacenados, ¿vale? Una vez que ya no se necesita,
that
que no se necesitan.
those objects are not
Antes, como ha comentado
in a
Arancha,
warehouse after
el
people
proyecto
don't need them.
nació un poco del
And
dolor familiar
the
de una
project
enfermedad,
started
¿vale?
from a
Que avanzó muy
family
rápido y
pain
esto nos hizo
situation,
tener que
and that
adquirir muchos de
helped
estos
us
objetos que al final, por el
buy many
propio
of these
comportamiento de la
devices, and
enfermedad,
in the end,
se iban teniendo que actualizar y
because of
tuvimos que
the
almacenar
illness,
en el garaje.
that we had to
Entonces,
store them in
hablando
our
con amigos y
garage.
familiares, vimos que
So I
realmente hay
talked
más
to
personas
family
con
and
este tipo de
relatives, and we
enfermedad
saw
que dependían
a lot
de
of people that are
muchos
going
otros
through that
objetos.
type of
Entonces,
illness,
un poco
and they
nuestro
could
objetivo
have
fue
use
pues,
for this type
conectar
of
tanto a los
devices.
donantes
So
como
our
a los
goal was
beneficiarios
to
objetos para
connect
evitar
donors
que
and
estos
people who
objetos,
needed the
estos objetos
devices
dejen de, por
to
decirlo así,
prevent this devices to just be stored, and and they could help people, more people.
Perdona, continúa.
Sorry, go ahead.
El estado del proyecto, como os he dicho, ya habíamos hecho una
Our
especie
project
de
status, as I said,
familiar, porque
we used it in our family because
vale, entonces sabíamos que
our aunt had
realmente había
donated
esta
that to some
necesidad
friends, and
y
we
de hecho
knew
también habíamos
that
hablado
we had the
con
need,
diferentes
and we had
asociaciones
talked to
para ver cómo ellos
different
lo hacían
associations to
y vimos
see
que
how
hacía falta una
they
plataforma
manage their donations, and we needed a
entonces,
platform to
para el
manage
premio
all that.
teníamos hecho una especie de
And
plataforma
for
de
the
chat
awards,
familiar
we
en
had
la
a
que
platform
comprobamos que la idea
and a
realmente
family
tenía sentido.
chat session to make the idea, or
Bien,
to
pues,
convey that the
y
idea had sense.
la siguiente pregunta que te iba a hacer es, cuando
The next
ganaste el
question
premio,
is,
¿qué
when you
apoyo
won the
tuviste desde la
awards,
oficina, desde
what kind of
ENGLISH,
support did you
para
have
presentar
from the
tu
office
proyecto?
from then on, and how has
Bueno,
it
desde el primer
evolved since
momento,
then?
la
From
oficina
the
de Bilbao sí
get-go,
que es verdad que es pequeñita,
the
nos conocemos
Bilbao
todos,
office
pero
was
tuve el apoyo
was
desde,
worked
bueno,
very
desde mi
fast, and I had
compañero
support
con el que estoy trabajando
from my
hasta el jefe de la
colleague
oficina.
that I'm working with
Entonces eso sí
now,
que
and from
me
him
ayudó
to
muchísimo, porque
the
encima
head of the
ellos estaban
office,
en
and it's
estados
helped a lot because
muy de ideación todavía y no había ninguna
our
plataforma
project
desarrollada.
was
Entonces
in the
la oficina
status of ideas,
sí
so,
me dio la
and we couldn't
oportunidad
develop it. So
de crear un
the
grupo de
office gave me the
trabajo
chance
voluntario
to
para
create a
desarrollar
working
la
group
plataforma.
of volunteers to
Bien,
develop
o sea, que
our
la oficina
platform.
se volcó, ¿no? Desde el primer
Eso
momento
es.
So the
con
office
vosotros.
did help you a lot,
Y,
and helped you with your
y por
project.
último, ¿qué supuso para tu
Last,
proyecto? Porque claro, vosotros fuisteis de los primeros
for what
también
it
que
meant
tuvisteis
for
la
your project.
experiencia de
You were one
viajar a
of the
Japón.
first that had that
Y
experience
tú para
of
vosotros,
going to
esa
Japan,
semana, esos días que estuvisteis en
and
Japón, que
that
estuvisteis
week, those
presentando
days that you spent
vuestro
in
proyecto
Japan
a gente,
presenting your
bueno, a
project
socios de NTT, a
uh,
gente muy importante y relevante
to allies that
de
are
NTT
people who are
Data en
very
sus
relevant and
países.
important from
Bueno, en
at
principio,
the
en nuestro
offices in
caso fue
Japan.
clave,
At the
porque aunque sí que es
beginning, in
verdad que
our
Japón,
case, was key
el gobierno tiene
because
diferente estructura
Japan,
y un sistema
and
diferente,
the
incluso con
government,
ayudas para poder
they work differently, and they have
a diferencia de
aids to
España,
buy this type of devices
pues
in
o sea,
Spain.
la idea que nos metieron ellos, más que el hecho de cómo obtener
The
beneficios,
idea,
fue lo
more
de
than how to get the devices,
la conexión que estábamos
identity
creando entre las
data,
personas.
it was that
Porque,
connection that we
o sea,
created between people,
sobre todo el hecho
between
de hablar de las enfermedades sin ningún miedo, cómo compartir
especially
con la
talking
gente que
about
trabaja con la
illnesses and
familia, pues
sharing
qué nos
with our
ocurre y
colleagues, with
ayudarnos
our
mutuamente. Entonces,
family, what, and share
en
what's
verlo,
happening, and we can help each other.
el ver toda esa
So
donación
to see
y demás, no desde
donations,
un punto de intercambio de objetos
and
normal,
not
sino de algo
from
más,
an
fue
exchange
lo que nos ayudó.
process, but something else,
Y
it's
luego
helped a
también
lot.
animar a toda la gente que nos está escuchando, no solo a
Also,
participar,
to
sino que
encourage
crean
everyone to
y
take part
es una
with these
experiencia
awards,
increíble,
which is an
ya que, por
incredible
ejemplo, bueno, en nuestro
experience,
caso, el proyecto en
because
principio estaba
in our
para ser
case,
finalista
the
y al
beginning
final
of our
ganamos
project,
ahí en el último momento.
we
Pero eso
went
en ningún
in
momento
at the
nos
very
frenó,
last
¿no? Es un poco lo
moment,
que ha comentado Arancha, que al
but
final el objetivo también de estos premios es
as Arancha said,
que simplemente el
the
hecho de
object
que
of
Everis
the
se
words
interese y el poder
is that Everest
el día
is
del premio
gets interested,
darle el proyecto
and
ya
on
es
the day of the
algo increíble.
awards, they explain your project. That
La
is a very,
visibilidad
very,
también, ¿no?
very
Que
big step.
obtenéis a
And
través de los
visibility is
premios.
also important.
Eso es.
Genial.
What
Asier,
happens
pues
in this
muchas
type of
gracias por
awards?
contarnos
Great,
tu
Asier. Thank you very
experiencia
much for telling us about your
en este premio.
experience,
Vamos a
and when
pasar
you
a Caroli,
participated in the
esa parte
awards.
la vamos a
And
hacer
now we're going to
en
talk to
inglés.
Caroli, and
So,
this is
Caroli,
going to be done
you
in
are
English. So,
in mute
Caroli.
right now. Can you hear me? Okay.
Hi, Tamara. Hello, everyone.
Hi, Caroli.
I'm
Welcome.
from the Luxembourgish office.
Hi. Welcome. We are glad to have you here in this the meeting point. So, Caroli, you were the last winner of these awards. So it was in 2020. So please tell us about, in one sentence, more or less, what is your project about and why you decided to apply for your social awards. As you said, you are from Everis, Luxembourg, but if you want to introduce yourself just a tiny bit, you can do it.
So, my name is Karoli, as I already told. My project is a broombot, which is a network of autonomous street cleaning robots using computer vision, machine learning, and AI to execute cleaning and sanitizing tasks in our cities. It's targeting and classifying garbage spots and collect the trash selectively. So when I saw the call for the everis social entrepreneurship program, I knew immediately that I need to apply, as my project is a smart city and a green tech application, which has a huge added value to live in a clean and healthy environment, and to the community, and the end to the whole society.
Okay, great. Regarding the award, I know that we have pending to go to Japan. This is pending also of the COVID pandemic situation. But as we said before, the winners also have an acceleration program by ideas. This how has this mentoring improved your project?
I can't emphasize enough how this acceleration program was useful to me. Alberto and Joel, my mentors from the Ideals, helped me to learn a lot of new things about my own project itself. We managed to fill important holes on my concept and business plan, and we developed a very detailed market research, business model, and a go-to-market plan together. It also helped me to rethink, resize, and visualize my project in a much more professional ways, and the business-oriented way, and not focusing only the technological execution and as I did before, but by the end of the process, I learned, and I understand that finally I will need to convince business people. So they introduced me how to think with the business mindset.
Okay, thank you. That's great. How do you hope to strengthen your project by being in contact with entity data in the future trip to Japan?
What I hope from this, that once entity data is supporting my project, that could help me to access possible business partners and investors to materialize my idea. And it will help me to meet the right audience who are willing to invest finances, time, and effort on social and environmental innovations, and at the end, my project.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for sharing with us your experience. So, thank you, Caroline,
Thank you,
for your words. Y tenemos por último,
now,
hoy vamos a contar también con
have,
Leslie. Buenas tardes,
Leslie.
Bueno, buenos días para ti, casi.
Good afternoon, Leslie. Well, good morning for you, right? You're muted. We can't hear you.
Bueno, Leslie, tú también participaste
Leslie,
en la última
you
edición
also
de
took
Meetingo
part in the last edition of
Awards.
Intraemprendimiento Social and your social awards. And we have to say that your project wasn't the winner. It was one of the finalists in the last edition. And you became part of an initiative called Compañero Gerard. And in that initiative, Jedi Mate. And that initiative supports the finalists of your social awards through collective talent and volunteers from that office where the project comes from to support them in different areas. So Leslie, to get to know a little bit more, tell us in one sentence where you are connecting from, where you're logging in from, and tell us about your project and how has your project evolved from the time you came to the awards, thanks to the aid that you got from your colleagues in the office that helped you to improve the project Jedi Mate. Thank you very much for the invitation, Tamara. I am logging in from my town where I was born, my city, Centro Poblado in Huancavelica. That is 12 hours away from Lima in Peru. This Papelec project is about mentoring in 10 academic areas to different professions in Latin America. As a matter of fact, it was a big achievement to go be one of the 10 finalists of everis awards, because this was something that helped us, made us more visible, thanks to the Jedi support, which were people from the area that supported us with developing design and business. In terms of design, they supported us to improve our branding image in the Papelec site, because our logo was all dated and outdated. We needed to renew that and get people to get to know that and convey what Papelec does. In terms of development, they helped us program all our website, our app, the front end, and we got to know all Papelec's programs. But we have 3 programs, and if I share them, it'll take a long time. But one of the main things is mentoring. And last, they also helped us to diagnose all social media that Papelec takes part in, because we didn't have somebody in charge to see our shortcomings in this type of site. The Jedi's helped us to have a homogeneous image, that everything is the same color, same communication, among other things. And that's the support we have gotten. And many people got to know our programs, and they can identify us in a better way as an organization. Great, Leslie. Thank you very much for telling us a little bit more about their project, because as you see, beyond uh, going to your social awards and being part of your social awards, and beyond winning, we have an experience. And on the other hand, we have the awards, which is going to Japan uh, or Madrid office. If you are part of entity data or everest, you also have mentorship to improve your project and to make it grow. And also you have the support of your colleagues to continue driving your project in the way that you need. So if you want, they gave we don't have much time, but if you want to ask a question, if you want to ask a question, go ahead. And for those of you who don't know, uh, maybe we're talking about your social awards and I don't know how to get access to it. I'm going to type this, and we'll have a link, and you'll have all the information for the awards. I have one question for all of you. If you had to say, if you had to encourage everyone who are watching us, if you could give them one word, something very brief to encourage people, something that you would say, as Arancha said, don't regret not doing something. So, what would you say to those people who are watching us? Asier, if you want to start, or Leslie, Caroli. I would I would encourage people, as we say, start in your office with your colleagues, your boss, because in the end they're gonna help you out, and you can count on them. Otherwise, you can write to me, and we'll have the opportunity to be part of this big company, and we can help for everything. Leslie, do you want to go on? I think Leslie looked out. Caroli?
I would like to advise to everyone and suggest, like, don't worry about if your idea is not a very unique idea, like if it already exists or other startups are working on that or similar than that. It's when you start to realize your project, you will see that first of all, your project will change eventually and going through a morphosis, and you will have to adapt it to the needs of the target or the environment and the society. And also like it also depends on you, like how will you execute it. So the success is basically, it's not the idea itself only, but it's you and your team is very important to that you are able to do this, you are able to pull this out.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Caroli, also we have a question for you. Alvaro is asking you this. Caroli, which will be the specific differences with other similar products in your opinion?
The main difference is that my solution or this application is analyzing the garbage on the spot and try to differentiate between its plastic, paper, glass, or metallic or organic, and collect it selectively. Then also it uses different units which are connected to a network, and they communicating each other and upload all the data into a database, into actually feeding a machine learning algorithm. And later the AI will able to do predictions of the accumulation or timely accumulation of the garbage and the local, like where it learns actually where these garbage spots are accumulation on a daily basis, most of that, so it can spread the efforts evenly in the area of the cleaning tasks.
Okay, thank you very much, Caroli. Leslie, justo creo que ibas a contarnos eso que le ibas a decir a
you were going to tell us
oyentes de hoy.
About what you were going to tell our audience today. You were going to give us a sentence or encouraging words. As a matter of fact, starting up is beautiful. I go through that every day. It is to follow your purpose, and one that came to you and you saw it, you lived it and you helped. I feel that many purposes are there, and there are needs inside of you, because we don't see, if you don't see needs, we can't support people. We have to have empathy with the needs we find here in Peru. There are many. Me personally, when I went to the place I was born, as a matter of fact, I see that many people, so many students, thanks to this kind of program, can get ahead. You can change lives thanks to that very small contribution, and you see their smiles every day, and they are very grateful, and that is the most gratifying aspect for me. Thanks to all the support, we are doing great things. Great, beautiful, Leslie. Thank you very much. We have a question from Juan Francisco. No, we heard you. We heard you, Leslie. As I said, we have a question from our audience, Juan Francisco. Is it possible to suggest this type of project? And I'm going to answer this. Today you have given us a lot of information, a lot of guidelines, and you have encouraged us to materialize all our ideas and to make them in a true proposal, and to have a project that for entrepreneuring and starting up. And you can propose that to your bosses, you can do that. And from Everest Foundation, what we do and what we're going to say is go ahead and jump in and take part in your social awards. We have a banner down below on your screen. And if you have an idea, you have a project, and you have colleagues and you want to present your project, we encourage you to do so. And especially how you go ahead and do it. As Arancha said, you have to take that first step, which is very important, and especially you want to have you have to have a lot of passion and they're willing to do it. So we encourage you, if you will have a social project with social impact, go ahead and apply. You still have time, and if you don't have any other questions, we have 4 minutes and we can finish before. Thank you all to all our attendance today. Thank you for the meeting point, taking part in the meeting point. Your answers have helped them with people with their doubts. Thank you very much for taking part. We'll keep in touch and we'll see you soon. Bye bye, guys.
Have a good day.
You too.
Bye bye.
Ciao, chicos.
Bye bye.